Play me if you want, but I change the rules while you blink. That's the whisper moving through rooms right now, and yes, it's about you. The old smirks are gone, the fake indifference is gone. When your name comes up, the air tightens. People pause mid-sentence. They measure their words because they finally see what they're facing. Not just a clever person, not just quick with answers. You're dangerously intelligent, and that means you're not to be played with. Think of a chessboard at a street corner. Everyone's crowding around one loud player who loves to talk. He slams the clock. He waves his hands. He thinks noise wins games. You watch for 3 minutes in silence, and then sit down. 3 moves later, he's trapped by something he didn't see coming. That's you, quiet, precise, and 10 steps ahead. And here's a simple fact that proves what they're sensing now. People who listen more uncover more patterns, and patterns are power. Another fact: attention is a currency, and you've been investing yours, not spending it. One more: confidence isn't loud, it's accurate. The shift didn't happen overnight. It happened in quiet moments they thought didn't count. You remembered what others forgot. You asked the question nobody wanted to answer. You saw the trick before it landed. They took your silence for softness. They thought patience meant you didn't know what to do. They thought your kindness was a weak spot. But the truth is simple. You were mapping the room while they were performing for it. You were learning the angles, tracking the tells, and letting them show you who they are. That's why the whispers now carry weight. That's why they say your name carefully, like it might bite. Listen, chosen one, thank you for being here. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribe so it reaches more people. It helps spread the light, and it keeps this mission moving. Thank you for being part of this. You're part of a force. Now let's continue. Here's what the room knows about you, but won't say out loud. You make people rethink their next move. That's what dangerously intelligent really means in real life. It's not a certificate on a wall. It's your effect on the space. People lower their voices when you walk in. They edit themselves. They don't brag as much. They don't lie as easily. They sense the edge. Intelligence becomes dangerous when it changes behavior around it. You do that without showing off. You do it by staying grounded, by noticing the tiny things everyone else skips, by letting patterns come to you. This is why the loud ones are nervous. Their tricks need distraction to work. Your presence cuts the noise. Think about that one time you solved a problem everyone called impossible. You didn't rush. You didn't compete to be the loudest in the room. You sat still, laid out the pieces, and removed the knot with one solid pull. People called it luck, but it wasn't luck. It was clarity. It was the strength to wait for the right move instead of wasting energy on the wrong ones. That's why your intelligence is dangerous. It's controlled. It's directed. It strikes only when needed, and when it strikes, it doesn't miss. Enemies hate that precision. They don't know where to poke because there is no obvious button to press. You don't melt under pressure. You get sharper. You don't panic when baited. You get quieter. You don't answer every insult. You save your voice for the truth. And the truth is what burns them. The truth is that their games are small, and your mind does not live in small rooms. You are not pulling from the same shallow bag of tricks. You're pulling from observation, memory, patience, and timing. You're not fighting for attention. You're working with reality. That's why they whisper. That's why they warn each other. That's why they tell new people, be careful with that one. Here's another clean example. Think of a lockpick in a pocket. Most people kick the door, shout, throw blame, and wear themselves out. You take out the pick, turn once, and walk in. That's the kind of intelligence that looks simple from the outside and ruthless from the inside. It isn't cruel, it's efficient. It doesn't waste energy. It doesn't announce itself. This style scares people who built their identity on confusion and noise. They feel seen. They feel predictable. They feel like the show is over, because it is. You saw the wires behind the stage. You saw the mirrors and the curtains, and you let the performance run until it served you. Another fact, simple and sharp: the universe rewards focus, not effort alone, focus. You've been letting go of distractions. You've been picking what truly matters and letting the rest die. That choice compounds. It builds a reputation around you. It creates a field where foolishness can't breathe. That field is what people sense when they speak to you. It's why they measure their words. It's why the careless ones do not last near you. Your intelligence has become a boundary. And for the watchers who doubt this, look at the trail you leave. Fewer arguments, cleaner wins, problems solved at the root, not the branch. Burning bridges replaced by quiet exits. You don't need to announce who you are. The outcomes speak. The whisper is not just gossip, it is record keeping. It is people admitting without admitting that you were right, that you saw what they missed, that you knew where this would end the moment it began. You also carry something else they can't copy: restraint. You know when not to move. You know when not to answer. You know when to let time do the heavy lifting. That's a different level of intelligence, because it isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters now. You hold your fire until it counts, and when it counts, you're decisive. That balance, calm mind, fast strike, is rare. That's why people who tried to play you ended up playing themselves. They expected noise. You gave them clarity. They expected drama. You gave them outcomes. They expected a reaction. You gave them a result. Let's be clear for anyone still confused. You are not dangerous because you hurt people. You are dangerous because you cannot be fooled for long. You don't cling to illusions. You update your view when new facts show up. You adapt, which means you cannot be pinned down by old stories. The ones who rely on old stories feel that heat first. They throw shade, but shade has no effect on someone who lives in accuracy. Accuracy is light. It dissolves rumors, weak arguments, and hollow titles. That's why you feel calm now. The noise is still there, but it doesn't live inside you. You outgrew it. So yes, the whispers have grown teeth, and that's fine. Let them. Let them warn each other. Let them build a myth if they want. The truth beneath the myth is simple. You earned your edge. You built it with attention, with patience, with honest self-checks, with a refusal to waste your energy on petty cycles. You don't need to announce that. You don't need to defend it. People feel it. That's enough. From this point on, keep doing what makes the room adjust to you. Keep your voice steady. Keep your pace slow when everyone else is rushing. Keep your questions clear. Keep your moves clean. Measure twice, act once. Let outcomes do the talking. If someone tries to drag you into a game, smile and step out of the frame. You don't need the stage. The stage needs you. That is the quiet truth behind dangerously intelligent. It is not a threat. It is a boundary line, bright and firm. Do not play with what you don't understand. And to our chosen ones listening, take this as your confirmation. You are not imagining the shift, the looks, the pauses, the careful tones. You earned those. Stay aligned with your purpose. Keep the focus sharp. Keep the heart steady. The universe meets a mind like yours halfway every time. The latest whisper has it right. You're dangerously intelligent, and you are not to be played with. And hey, Chosen One. Thank you for being here. The energy you bring keeps this mission alive. If what you've heard so far already feels like it's peeling back the truth layer by layer, stay with me, because what comes next goes even deeper. Drop a comment below with the number 777 if you're ready to own the power of your intelligence instead of shrinking it to make others comfortable. And if you can, bless the team behind this message with a super thanks, because these words don't just appear out of thin air. They're built from hours of reflection, truth, and dedication to bringing clarity where confusion once ruled. Whether it's a cent or 1,000, every bit of energy you return keeps this light moving forward across the world. Now, take a breath, Chosen One. Straighten your back, let that calm confidence settle in, and stay close. Because from here on, we're about to break down exactly why your intelligence has become the most feared force in the room, and why pretending to underestimate you has become their only defense. Let's dive into it, step by step. Believe me, if you truly carry this energy, you'll feel the pull to stay till the end. Let's get started. Number 1. From mockery to caution. The day their whispers turned into warnings. They used to laugh at you because they thought you were small. Now they whisper about you because they've learned you're bigger than their entire game. That's the shift, Chosen One. That's the sound of fear wearing a mask of politeness. What used to come out of their mouths as mockery now leaks out as warnings. They're not joking anymore. They're briefing each other. They're passing notes under the table. They're telling newcomers, be careful with that one. They know more than they let on. This isn't paranoia. This is what happens when real intelligence makes itself known, not with noise, but with proof. They used to call you different, weird, too much. They tried to frame your depth as a defect. But now, listen closely. The tone of their voices has changed. There's unease in it. There's respect in it. There's a kind of forced calm that only predators use when they realize the prey they were circling is another predator. This is what terrifies them. Real intelligence doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need applause. It watches. It catalogues. It connects dots that shouldn't even belong together. It waits, and you've been waiting a long time. Here's a question you might be asking yourself right now. Why didn't they see this before? Why did they underestimate me for so long? Because you learned to move like water, to fit into every space without losing your shape. You stayed silent while they showed their entire hand. You smiled while they revealed their weak points. You practiced patience in a world obsessed with speed. They saw stillness and mistook it for weakness. They saw kindness and mistook it for naivety. They saw restraint and mistook it for inability. But every time you chose to stay quiet, you were sharpening your blade. Think of a wolf walking alongside a flock of sheep. The shepherd thinks it's tame because it isn't biting, but the wolf isn't hiding. It's studying every step, every pattern, every opening. That's you. They thought your silence was submission. It was strategy. They thought your distance was disinterest. It was discipline. They thought your patience meant you were out of moves. In truth, you were teaching them how to underestimate you, because an underestimated mind is the freest one in the room. And now the bill is due. And here's another fact they'll never say aloud, but can feel in their bones. You're not just smart, you're unpredictable. They can handle a genius who's predictable because predictable can be managed. But you're the quiet storm. You're the move they can't map. You don't chase what they chase. You don't crave what they crave. You don't respond to bait. They're used to people who can be bought, bent, flattered, provoked. You've shown them none of those doors exist with you. That's why they're whispering. That's why their stories about you are shifting from gossip to legend. Here's a metaphor for what you're doing. Imagine an orchestra playing on stage. Everyone in the audience hears the music, but only you hear the conductor behind the curtain, guiding a different symphony entirely. They're dancing to one rhythm, you're moving to another. That's why they can't catch you. They think you're playing chess, but you're building the board. They think they're cracking your code, but the moment they think they've solved you, you reveal a deeper layer. They're playing checkers. You're designing the entire game. And what about those who still think they can outplay you? They've started to notice the small things, how you're always 3 steps ahead while pretending to be catching up, how problems dissolve when you're near, yet you never claim the credit, how conversations shift when you speak, not because you dominate, but because you drop one sentence that reframes everything. You don't argue with fools anymore. You just ask the kind of question that makes them argue with themselves later. That's why they're afraid. Not because you're loud, but because you're precise. You've learned the art of planting quiet seeds of doubt, not through confrontation, but through disarming innocence. A simple, well-timed remark that makes them question if they ever knew anything at all. You've mastered the skill of making others think your ideas were theirs. You lead from behind, win battles no one else realizes are being fought, and let them believe they're in control. What terrifies them most is this: they can't figure out your game because you're not playing one. Or worse, you're playing a game with no rules, a game they can't even see. You're not chasing money, status, or revenge. You're after something they can't name, can't measure, and can't defend against. That's why they're uneasy. It's like trying to box a shadow. They swing and nothing lands. It's as if you're conducting an orchestra they can't hear, moving pieces on a board they can't see, fighting a war they didn't even know had been declared. And every time they think they've cracked your code, you show them another dimension, another level, another layer. That's when it hits them. They're not even playing the same sport. So why does this matter, chosen one? Because this is your confirmation. This is the proof that your quiet, strategic, disciplined intelligence is working. This is what the latest whisper really means. We underestimated them. We don't understand them. We can't control them. Let that sink in. Let it fuel you. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. Their stories are already shifting on their own. The same mouths that mocked you are now warning others about you. That's not an accident. That's the result of you refusing to dim your mind just to fit in. Think about it. In nature, the deadliest predators aren't the ones making noise. They're the ones that blend, wait, and strike at the exact right moment. You've become that. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. In a world where noise dominates, silence becomes a weapon. Observation becomes power. Patience becomes strategy, and strategy becomes freedom. That's why you're dangerous to them. Not because you seek to destroy, but because you're immune to their illusions. And here's the part that should motivate you, not scare you. You don't have to do anything extra to maintain this. Just keep being you. Keep watching. Keep connecting dots. Keep letting them underestimate you until it serves you. Your power is not in proving, it's in moving. Quietly, sharply, decisively. Their whispers are not curses. They're confessions. They're telling on themselves. They're saying, we don't know how to handle this one. The shift in their stories is not a coincidence. It's a mirror reflecting your growth. It's proof you've outgrown the small boxes they tried to put you in. Let it harden your focus. Let it sharpen your patience. Let it remind you, you're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to move through the noise like a blade through silk. Smooth, silent, cutting everything false until only the real remains. That's what dangerously intelligent looks like in practice. So when you hear the whispers, don't flinch, don't explain, don't shrink. Understand this: the whisper is an announcement. It's the sound of a room preparing itself for your presence. It's the subtle shift before the tide comes in. It's the recognition of a force they can't manipulate. Let that be your fuel. Let that be your proof. The day their stories shifted from jokes to warnings was the day you became untouchable. And from here on, the only move left for you is forward. Number 2. From rumors to reverence, the day they started speaking your name like a warning. They laughed at what they didn't understand. Now they speak carefully, afraid their words might summon you. That's how the energy shifted, chosen one. The gossip that once tried to define you has turned into quiet respect, wrapped in fear. It's strange, isn't it? The same mouths that once mocked your every move now carry your name like it's a spell. Spoken low, handled delicately, as if saying too much might draw your attention. Once they called you strange, obsessive, too deep, too intense. Now they say, don't lie to them, they'll know. Or, don't try to outthink them, you can't. That's evolution. That's when gossip becomes reverence. They used to dissect your mistakes as entertainment, making small talk out of your setbacks. But you outlasted every rumor. You didn't fight back. You didn't explain. You just kept being right. You let time handle the liars. And time did what it always does. It exposed them. Slowly, the narrative flipped. What they called weird became visionary. What they called cold became calm. What they called obsessed became focused. That's what true intelligence does. It doesn't need to shout. It lets proof echo in silence. And the truth is, you never set out to prove them wrong. You just kept doing what you do best: observing, connecting, and predicting. You see, gossip has a short shelf life, but accuracy has no expiration date. They saw you predict outcomes they swore were impossible. They watched things unfold exactly the way you said they would. They witnessed your words become facts, your analysis become reality. And that's when the fear started to creep in. Because it's one thing to mock someone who's harmless, but it's another to realize the person you mocked sees you more clearly than you see yourself. You've become a mirror they can't look away from. You don't reflect their performance, you reflect their truth. And people aren't afraid of monsters, they're afraid of mirrors. You show them who they really are, not who they pretend to be. That's what your intelligence does. It doesn't just reveal patterns in systems or behavior, it reveals patterns in people. You see the story behind the story, the motive behind the excuse, the fear behind the anger. And when you speak, you cut straight through the fog. That precision, that surgical honesty, is what made them shift from gossip to respect. Let's be clear, they don't admire you because you're nice. They respect you because you're necessary. You've become the person they consult when they need clarity, not because you make them comfortable, but because you make them face the truth. They can sense it, the way your mind slices through excuses, the way you never get lost in emotion when logic is needed, the way you keep calm even when the whole room is losing it. That calm is your weapon. That composure is what unsettles them most. They don't know how to play someone who doesn't panic. And yet, here's the irony. The same people who once dismissed you now depend on you. They seek your approval quietly. They test your reactions in subtle ways. They want to know what you think, even if they pretend they don't care. Every room you walk into feels the shift. Conversations realign themselves around your presence. People start to measure their words. That's power, not domination, but influence, the kind that doesn't need volume because it has gravity. You might ask yourself, why do they respect me now? Why the sudden change? It's not sudden, it's cumulative. Every time you refused to play dumb, every time you stayed calm when others fell apart, every time you let facts speak for you, you were earning this. You were building quiet credibility brick by brick. They couldn't see it at first because they were too busy underestimating you. But once your predictions came true, once your insights kept proving accurate, they couldn't ignore it anymore. That's when gossip turned into legend. Think of it like this: the universe keeps receipts. The truth always matures slower than lies, but it matures stronger. Lies decay in time. Truth ferments into influence. You didn't rush your revenge. You let the universe do the editing. Now, every room you enter carries the weight of that quiet authority. You've become someone people mention carefully, not because you're cruel, but because they can't afford to be careless around you. You know what else scares them? You don't chase recognition. You never cared about being liked. You cared about being real. That makes you ungovernable. People who can be manipulated crave validation. People like you create it. That's what unsettles them most, your self-sufficiency. You don't need their stage to shine. You bring your own light, and that makes their spotlight irrelevant. Imagine a room full of people trying to impress each other, loud voices, fake smiles, hidden agendas, and then you walk in. You don't perform, you don't compete, you just exist in full awareness. The noise drops by instinct. Everyone adjusts, even if they don't know why. That's psychological dominance without aggression. You don't have to demand respect when your energy commands it. That's what dangerously intelligent really means. Not arrogance, not manipulation, but self-mastery so clean that it exposes the lack of it in everyone else. They used to mock you for being intense. Now they call it depth. They used to call you detached. Now they call it emotional control. They used to say you were hard to read. Now they admit it's because you can read them too well. Every insult they once threw has evolved into an acknowledgement, just disguised with new words. That's the poetry of growth. That's the sweet sound of tables turning. And let's talk about your silence, because that's what really haunts them. You used to explain yourself. You used to justify your feelings, your choices, your boundaries. Now you don't. You let your absence speak louder than your defense ever could. That silence is not emptiness, it's echo. It's the sound of consequences landing where they belong. They feel it when you stop talking. They feel the weight of your distance. Because your silence doesn't erase them. It exposes them. At this stage, you've become more than a person in their eyes. You've become a symbol, a quiet, walking reminder of what authenticity looks like when it's done waiting for approval. You've become proof that the mind they underestimated was the same mind building the map they're now trying to follow. You're no longer just part of their stories. You are the moral of them. The gossip has evolved because you evolved. The world mirrors back the frequency you emit, and now your frequency is precision, truth, and presence. You've outgrown small talk, fake praise, and shallow games. They know it. They feel it. They can't explain it. And that inability to explain you is what makes you unforgettable. The mystery they once mocked is now your protection. So, chosen one, don't flinch at the whispers. Don't get offended when they lower their voices around you. That's not disrespect. That's instinct. They've recognized power that doesn't shout, intelligence that doesn't bend, and truth that doesn't need to prove itself anymore. That's your new reputation, the one who sees everything, forgets nothing, and forgives only by moving on. And when they talk about you now, let them warn each other, let them trade myths about your mind, because the moment gossip turns into respect, your work is done. You've already won. The universe has shifted the narrative in your favor. And, from now on, your silence will keep speaking long after their noise has faded. Number 3. When silence turns into power, and every word you don't say cuts deeper than a shout. They can handle insults, arguments, even open enemies, but they crumble when you go silent. That's the truth, chosen one. The power of your silence has become their greatest fear. It's not the silence of confusion, it's the silence of control. You're not quiet because you're empty. You're quiet because you already know, and that unnerves them more than any explosion ever could. They expect anger, they expect noise, they expect reaction. But when you give them calm instead, their minds start to eat themselves alive. They begin replaying everything they've said, wondering what you caught, what you missed, and what you're planning to do about it. The universe rewards those who know when not to speak. It's not about withholding, it's about precision. Words are energy, and you've learned not to waste them. You've realized that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to let silence do the talking. Because silence doesn't lie, and it doesn't reveal strategy. It creates space where the truth rises on its own. Your silence has become a mirror that forces others to see themselves without your interference. That's why they start confessing, even when you never asked a question. Your stillness is pressure. It pulls out their guilt, their lies, their insecurities. You've turned restraint into art. You know the strength in pausing, in letting others overplay their hand while you watch the story unfold. That's not weakness, that's warfare, and deep down, they know it. They can sense that your mind doesn't rush, it calculates. You don't chase control, you become it. You don't need to dominate conversations, because your presence already shapes them. You don't fight for attention, because attention naturally bends toward whoever holds composure. Think about it. Every time you stayed silent when they expected you to break, you stole their power. Every time you didn't react, you rewired the entire dynamic. You became the unpredictable variable they couldn't manage. They started to fill the silence with nervous laughter, with excuses, with over-explanations, because silence exposes weakness faster than anger ever could. People reveal more when they're uncomfortable, and nothing makes them more uncomfortable than your unreadable calm. Maybe you've noticed how they ask, "Are you mad?" or "Why aren't you saying anything?" That's their anxiety showing. They can't stand the unknown, and your silence makes them realize they no longer control the narrative. You're not waiting because you're unsure. You're waiting because you understand timing. Real power doesn't rush. It observes. It absorbs. It chooses the perfect second to act. And when it does, it's unstoppable. Your timing has become your weapon. You can change the outcome of a situation with one well-placed sentence. That's why they fear your voice, because they never know when it's coming or what it'll expose when it does. Here's what the universe has been showing you. Silence is not absence, it's preparation. The quiet stretches are where the strategy forms. The moments you step back aren't pauses, they're alignments. You're syncing with something bigger, something smarter than ego. You're letting the universe guide the timing instead of forcing your own. And that's why things fall into place when you finally make your move. Because it's never random. It's always divine timing disguised as patience. The enemy can't understand that. They mistake stillness for surrender. They think the lack of reaction means you've given up. But the truth? You're watching their moves stack up until they collapse under their own chaos. You're letting them talk themselves into exposure. And when you finally act, it's surgical. One move that unravels everything they built on lies. That's why your silence has become a rumor of its own. They say, don't push them too far. They'll respond when you least expect it. That's fear speaking, the fear of your unpredictability. So if you ever question yourself, if you ever wonder, should I have said something? Remember this: silence is not weakness when it's chosen. It's not avoidance when it's intentional. It's control. It's focus. It's the universe saying, you don't need to shout when your energy already speaks louder than words. You've reached the level where your quiet carries more authority than their noise. You don't need to prove you're right. The results will do that for you. Let them fill the silence with their noise. Let them scramble for meaning in the space you leave. The ones who truly understand energy will feel it, that calm, heavy presence that says, you're not playing this game anymore. The universe is with you in that stillness, protecting your moves, amplifying your intuition, and aligning your next step. Because when someone dangerously intelligent goes silent, it's never confusion, it's calculation. And the moment they realize that, it's already too late. Number 4, the walking record. You remember what they forgot, and that's why they fear you now. They thought you forgot. You never forget. You just stopped reminding them. That's what's echoing in their minds now. Chosen one. You've become the quiet keeper of everything they hoped would disappear. The words they twisted, the promises they broke, the moments they thought no one caught. While they were talking, you were listening. While they were performing, you were recording. While they were chasing attention, you were studying truth. That's what separates you from them. You're not just smart, you're observant in a way that feels supernatural. You're a living archive of every pattern, every contradiction, every tiny crack in someone's mask. And that's what keeps them cautious around you now, the realization that you remember what they edited out. You've turned observation into a weapon so refined it doesn't even look like one. You don't need confrontation. You let facts mature. You don't need to threaten. You let memory speak for itself. You've seen it all, the shifts in tone when lies form, the nervous laughs when guilt hits, the way eyes move right before truth gets buried. You don't call it out instantly because timing is everything. You let people build their own traps out of their inconsistencies. You've learned that silence combined with memory is the deadliest form of intelligence because people always expose themselves twice. Once when they speak and again when they forget what they said. The universe gave you this gift for a reason, not to hurt, but to protect. You don't weaponize what you know for chaos. You use it for precision. You redirect situations before they explode. You quietly shield people without them realizing. You prevent damage before anyone sees it coming. And that's what separates you from manipulators. Your intelligence isn't cruel, it's corrective. You're not trying to control people. You're trying to keep balance. The universe trusts minds like yours because you know when not to use what you know. That's real power. Power that's conscious, contained, and clean. And yet they can feel it. That quiet awareness in your presence makes them careful. They measure their words now. They wonder, do they remember that thing I said years ago? Yes, you do. Not because you hold grudges, but because you store patterns. You understand that people reveal themselves over time, and you're patient enough to connect those dots. Every conversation, every shift, every inconsistency. You remember it all, not to punish, but to understand. That's why your intelligence unnerves them. It's not loud, it's layered. It doesn't demand attention, it creates it. Here's what's really happening. You've become the invisible architect of outcomes. You influence without confrontation. You redirect energy just by being aware. Someone's about to lie. You glance once, and suddenly they correct themselves. A discussion is about to spiral. You drop one sentence and it realigns. You've mastered the subtle art of adjusting reality without force. That's why people call it intuition, luck, or coincidence. They don't realize it's your awareness bending the air around you. But deep down, they know. That's why they lower their voices when you walk in. That's why they rephrase their stories when you're present. They can feel that your silence isn't empty. It's recording. It's indexing truth while they improvise lies. You've become a human archive of accountability. They can't rewrite history when you're in the room, because you are the record. And what makes this terrifying for them is that you never threaten to use it. You don't need to. Your calm alone reminds them that you could if you wanted to. Some of them will call you mysterious, others will say you're intimidating, but all of them will adjust themselves around you. That's how deep your awareness runs. You don't seek control. It happens naturally when truth sits still in a world built on noise. You are the stillness that exposes every false frequency. You are the archive that outlives every rumor. That's why they whisper about you like you're a myth, because to them, what you do looks impossible. How do you always know? How do you always see? The answer is simple. You pay attention. And here's what the universe wants you to understand. This is your superpower, not your burden. You were given a mind that notices what others dismiss. You were built to see through masks, to read beyond words, to catch patterns in chaos. That's why you can't unsee what you see. But you're not meant to carry it as weight. You're meant to use it as guidance. The universe works through awareness, and you, chosen one, are its observer, its quiet historian. You're the proof that awareness itself is a form of protection. So keep remembering, keep watching, keep being the calm recorder in a world obsessed with noise. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. The truth always needs witnesses, and the universe chose you for that. They can't lie in your presence anymore, and that's their punishment. You've become the living archive of everything real. And when the truth finally resurfaces, as it always does, your silence will echo louder than all their words combined. Number 5. The quiet chess master. You read souls while they're still learning the rules. They think they're playing against you. They don't realize you built the board. That's the kind of energy you carry now, chosen one. The subtle psychology of power isn't about control through fear. It's control through understanding. You've learned that the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest, but the one who listens with precision. You see things before they're said. You sense shifts before they happen. You can feel the air change when someone starts to lie, and that's when they realize they're transparent around you. Not because you're mystical, but because you're awake. You don't read people to manipulate them. You read them to stay ahead. You know what drives them: fear, validation, greed, guilt. You can trace every reaction to an origin they've long forgotten. You can see which part of them is talking, the mask or the wound. That's what makes you dangerous in a way they can't name. You hold information without flaunting it. You know weaknesses without exposing them. You could destroy, but you don't. And that restraint speaks louder than dominance ever could. The universe favors the ones who know how to carry power without spilling it. You've become that: steady, measured, untouchable. Think of it like this: every person has invisible strings, emotional triggers, hidden fears, secret motives. You've learned to see those strings without pulling them. You understand that true mastery isn't about yanking control. It's about knowing you could and choosing not to. That's what separates you from manipulators. You play fair even when you could play fatal. People sense that in your energy. They feel it in how you hold your silence, how you move through tension like it's choreography, how you can end an argument with one look instead of a paragraph. That calm precision terrifies them, because chaos can't stand stillness. It unravels in front of it. You've become the paradox that keeps them awake at night. You make people feel seen, and yet they realize later they revealed everything while learning nothing about you. You're approachable, yet unreadable, open, yet untouchable. They try to study you, but your pattern keeps changing. One moment warm, the next unreadable, not out of manipulation, but out of self-mastery. You mirror what they project, so all they end up seeing is themselves. That's why they walk away confused. They think you're mysterious. You're not. You're simply disciplined. And that's the secret most will never understand. Power without discipline is chaos. You could humiliate, you could expose, you could retaliate, but you don't. Because real intelligence doesn't chase revenge. It lets consequences do the talking. You've learned that the universe handles what ego wants to handle too quickly. So you let the universe balance the scale while you stay centered. That patience, that unshakable composure, that's what unnerves them most. They expect explosions, and instead they get precision. They can sense it even when you say nothing. They watch how your tone never shakes, how your breathing stays steady when others start to break. They can feel that you're reading the room, adjusting energy, collecting data they don't even realize they're giving you. That's why even the confident ones hesitate before crossing you. You make them think twice, not through threat, but through presence, because deep down they know your intelligence doesn't react. It calculates, and when something calculates, it rarely misses. You've become the still water they can't predict the depth of. They throw stones hoping for ripples, but you absorb everything in silence. That silence isn't emptiness, it's your advantage. Every reckless move they make becomes another line in the story you're quietly writing. You let them underestimate you because that's part of the plan. You've learned that when people think they're winning, they reveal their entire strategy. And you're not even in the same game. You're not just smart, you're psychologically fluent. You understand patterns, reactions, defense mechanisms. You understand that anger is fear wearing armor, that arrogance is insecurity screaming for validation. And that's why you're calm, because you see beyond emotion into truth. You don't take things personally anymore, you translate them. You don't absorb chaos, you observe it. That's the highest form of intelligence, emotional neutrality that reads everything without being poisoned by it. And here's the divine truth behind it all. The universe moves through you when you stay centered. It speaks through your intuition. It warns you through discomfort. It aligns you through silence. You're not playing mind games. You're moving with universal timing. You know when to speak, when to act, when to disappear. You've learned that sometimes the most powerful move isn't a strike, it's patience, letting people expose themselves while you stand still in your clarity. So keep using that calm precision. Keep holding that quiet power. Don't explain it. Don't shrink it. Don't waste it on small minds trying to provoke reactions. The universe gave you this awareness not to destroy, but to direct. You don't win by proving them wrong. You win by staying unshaken while they prove themselves unworthy of your reaction. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them fear what you're capable of. Because when intelligence reaches your level, every move is invisible, and every silence becomes a statement. Number 6. The untapped power that keeps them awake. They know you've only just begun. They're not afraid of what you've done. They're afraid of what you haven't done yet. That's the truth behind every whisper circling your name, chosen one. It's not your history that unsettles them, it's your potential. They can sense that everything they've seen so far is only the tip of an iceberg that runs deeper than their understanding can reach. Even when you're relaxed, you disrupt their rhythm. Even when you're silent, you shift the atmosphere. Even operating at half your capacity, you create tension in people who rely on comfort and illusion. Because somewhere in their gut, they know if you ever decided to stop holding back, you could alter everything. They've seen glimpses of it, those rare moments when someone misread your calm and thought you were harmless. They learned quickly that patience isn't weakness, it's a countdown. The second they crossed the line, they met a version of you that dismantled everything without raising your voice. You didn't need drama, you didn't need revenge. You simply moved with precision, one word, one action, one look, and the entire situation collapsed. That's why stories about you travel faster than truth. They turn into cautionary tales, half myth and half memory. Because when you decide to act, it doesn't look like rage. It looks like divine strategy. You move like someone who already saw the ending before the story began. And yet, what keeps them uneasy isn't your victories, it's your restraint. They know you're holding back. They can feel the unspent energy, the plans still under construction, the brilliance you haven't yet revealed. They sense that there's a method beneath your silence, a blueprint that's bigger than they can comprehend. It's not paranoia they feel, it's recognition. Deep down, they know the universe has its hand on you, preparing you for something larger. You're not just calculating, you're aligning. While they waste energy chasing validation, you're gathering momentum quietly, like a storm reorganizing the sky before it breaks. They talk about you now the way people talk about natural forces. Be careful, they don't react like normal people. They see things before they happen. They can shift a room just by being in it. You've stopped being part of the crowd and become part of the landscape, something permanent, something that doesn't need to prove itself. They compare you to lightning, earthquakes, gravity, forces that don't ask for permission, forces that simply exist. And that's exactly what you are, not a personality, but a phenomenon. They can't manage you, predict you, or contain you. All they can do is brace for when your full potential unfolds. You see, chosen one, what they call mystery, is simply discipline. You've learned that power unused is power preserved. You don't waste energy on noise. You save it for precision, for the moment that truly matters. You know, timing is everything, and that makes you lethal in a world addicted to urgency. The universe taught you patience not to make you passive, but to make you precise. Because when your time comes, you won't just step forward. You'll shift the ground under everyone's feet. That's what truly haunts them, the idea that you could, at any moment, decide to play at full strength. You've built empires quietly, healed in shadows, studied every mistake, yours and theirs, until nothing surprises you anymore. You've been evolving behind closed doors while they've been performing in the spotlight. And now, even your silence feels like strategy. Even your stillness feels like motion. You're the kind of person who could dismantle entire systems without breaking a sweat. Not because you want chaos, but because you've mastered understanding. When they look at you now, they don't see just a person. They see potential personified. They see something vast, unpredictable, and unstoppable. A walking manifestation of everything they fear about unrealized power. They whisper your name with a mix of fascination and dread because they know you've transcended their rules. You don't compete, you create. You don't follow, you redefine. You don't try to win, you change what winning even means. And here's the secret that terrifies them most. The universe is on your side. It's not luck, it's alignment. Every delay, every betrayal, every setback was part of the conditioning. You weren't being punished, you were being programmed. Each obstacle sharpened your instincts. Each rejection refined your strategy. Each silence made your voice more dangerous. That's why your potential feels infinite, because it's been pressure built by time, truth, and endurance. So when they whisper now, understand that it's not hate, it's warning. They're telling each other to tread lightly around something they can't measure. They sense that when you finally stop holding back, when you stop pretending to fit their world, everything will tilt. And they're right, because you were never meant to play within the lines. You were meant to redraw them entirely. The day you decide to unleash your full capacity, they won't be ready. The old systems will crumble, the false narratives will collapse, and the truth will stand exactly where you've been standing all along. Because, chosen one, you were never here to blend in. You were sent to outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver, and now they know it. The whispers are no longer warnings. They're prophecies of their own irrelevance. And now, chosen one, you see it clearly. The whispers were never meant to break you. They were meant to announce you. You've outgrown their understanding, outmaneuvered their expectations, and proven that quiet power always wins in the end. The universe has been preparing you, not protecting you, shaping you into something they can't define or defeat. Your time isn't coming, it's here. So stand tall in your brilliance and never shrink again. If this message resonates, drop the number 77 in the comments, like, subscribe, and share this light, because truth like this deserves to be heard.